Today we've got another Neo Geo AES in. We've worked on a few of these this week. This one's come in for a full recap, but doesn't mention whether it works or not. So hopefully it works, but the likelihood is it's probably got more problems. Let's take a look at the console and see if we can fix it. So here is the Neo Geo AES, and you know by now the rule of thumb on these. Let's find out the serial number. Will it beat my 7,000 serial number? Oh no, 92,000. And taking a look inside, are we 5 volt or 9? We are 9 volt, and what is going on with them pins? Yeah, I think someone's definitely been in this. That's a Cheng cheap Chinese cap by the feel of it, super light. I think it's already had a recap. See all these markings? That's what we usually do if we're going to recap something sometimes as well. Just mark to keep track of where you're going. Luckily, the customer's paid for a full recap, so there's no issue there. Let's try and power this up. And I've just noticed as well, the customer's paid for the red illuminated power button, so that'll be pretty nice to show off. And it lights this button up like a soft glow. So when you power on, you'll get a nice little glow coming through this button. With 9 volts connected, if we power on, we got no game in, but the power light isn't on. So that could indicate a fuse or a short. Let's just drop back to bench and let's inject 5 volts over this diode. And with that connected, we still have no power. And we can see we have a dead short. So it's just maxing out the bench power. Let's crack out the thermal camera. And the coil is getting hot, which means the short is after the coil, so not the power regulator normally. If we just flip over to solder a wire to that coil, yeah, that's not good. Looks like the recap has torn traces. There's a lot of bodge work going on here. So we're gonna have to sort all that. Yeah, there's absolutely tons of rip traces. So not a great start. They've used cheap Chinese caps and ripped most of the pads, whoever did this work in the first place. But we'll fix that up. Let's just focus on one thing at a time. And let's just tap on the inductor coil, which is going from here to here. So we want this pin. With that on, we can now grip the 5 volts. With that on, we can now grip the 5 volts here. And with that done, there's no real heat other than in the wire itself. So that does mean we likely have a complete dead short, by which I mean a physical, just say a solder blob, or a complete and utter short between two pins. With absolutely no resistance on a complete dead short, these wires carry more resistance, and so the heat goes through the wire more so than an actual complete short. It could be, and is likely, part of the recap work or even one of these caps that is shorted. So considering we're going to do a full recap, I'll first remove all these caps and look for, as I'm going, where all the work's been done, any cases like this where maybe the repair's wrong or shorts on these pins, because there's a lot of messy work going on. So I'm just going to gut all this and we'll properly restore all these circuits as we go. And then hopefully we'll have found the short. And with the first cap off, why not test if these caps are any good? There's no branding and they don't feel right. You get a feeling for whether they're good caps or not. So let's just use an LCR meter to properly test the caps across a frequency range. And we'll compare it to some of the caps from our high quality cap kits. Starting with the unknown one we've removed, we can see we have 2.3 millifarad, which is 2,200 microfarad, which is about what it is. But you can see we're also only at 120 hertz. So if we now check at 1 kilohertz, we should still see capacitance, and we got nothing. So that means it'll work under DC load, but this is on a switching regulator. So even though it's outputting DC and stabilizing it, you want a high quality, low ESR cap. That certainly isn't one. Let's test our good caps. And you can see the 2000 microfarad, which is within tolerance range. And if we now change the frequency up to a kilohertz, you can see we still have the microfarads and we've got a good low Q there. So with all the old caps off, everything cleaned up, all the bodge wires removed everywhere. Firstly, we can see there's a ton of trace repair everywhere to do. Pretty much every cap on this board that's been done has traces missing. More importantly, let's ignore the caps for now and check if the ground short has gone, which it doesn't. So we have it on both feedbacks. So let's just remove the coil and see which side the short's on. Then with the coil up, the short is on the output side. So that means this regulator is very unlikely to be the cause. But considering the state of it, I'm just going to take this off just for now, because we can clean that up anyway. And with that off, the short still remains. So now we want to follow this main 5-volt rail and do a visual inspection everywhere to try and see a physical solder blob or short. And injecting power here and looking with the better thermal camera, I'm just looking for any trace of heat, and it does seem to be that this area, so it looks like basically just this area here. If you look, it's 25 and it goes up slowly. If I remove the power, see how it starts dropping pretty much straight away. So it's dropped again a degree already. And if I apply the short again, so apply power, see, so it's climbing again. So it's very marginal, but it might mean, I'm wondering whether we've got a short here in this area. And if we flip the board over, we can see what looks like a trace. So if we just move the tweezers in there, you can see this trace definitely getting warm. So if we just spray that area with IPA to cool it down, you can see it just instantly rises back up. So this is definitely the area to focus on. And if we look there under the scope, we can see that's a definite short. So it looks like when the customers recapped that area, they've obviously got a flake of that trace going over to the other. And with that now cleaned up, do we still have a short? No, we don't. And there's the power light. We get about the expected power draw as well, so 800 milliamps is about right. So let's finish the recap now, fix all the broken traces and chuck this regulator back on. That's all the new caps on, the regulator re-added, and all the trace damage neatly repaired, so you can't even tell there's any broken traces. Let's give this a go. Turn on. That's a good start. Let's see if it loads the game. And it does. So that is repaired. The final touch now is to make this button light up. And the finishing touch, a light up reset button. So when the console's on, you get a nice glow, which when fully assembled, looks like that, which I think is just a really nice touch. We offer this in green and red, so you can pick which colour you prefer. So that's it for this one, guys. I'll get this back to the customer, and I'll catch you in the next.